Chapter 22. Data said that he has locked quantum torpedoes. The Borg Queen said to destroy them. Then with a push of a button, 3 quantum torpedoes launched towards the Phoenix. Watch as your future ends. I did notice out of the corner of my eye that Data was making his way towards the plasma coolant tank. On the Phoenix, my spider sense kicked into high gear. I looked out the window and saw quantum torpedoes headed for us. My heart stopped. There was nothing I could do. I could not take the helm and move, since we had a stable warp field, and moving might destroy that, and we had no time to make another. Then, by some miracle, they missed us by that much. When the Queen saw that the torpedoes missed, she was furious. She spun around and yelled, "Data!" With a snarl, Data said that resistance is futile. Then he swung his arm and punched one of the tanks, and the force of all the coolant sent him flying back. I swung my arm as hard as I could and hit one of the Borg square in the nose and broke myself and Captain Picard free. I see some wires coming down, so I tell the captain to grab my shoulders as I grab one of the wires and climb to safety. After my heart started to beat normally again, the ship went to Warp 1. By our standards, Warp 1 is slower than molasses. However, I felt like my brain was going into my feet. As I was climbing the wire, the Queen grabbed my legs and tried to pull me down into the coolant. I hung on for dear life, because if I fell, then Jean-Luc would fall in also. I look up and see that the wire is starting to come out of the socket. I look down, and something emerges from the coolant. It was Data. He grabs hold of the Queen and starts to pull on her. She yells and tries to hang on, but in the end, she was unable to, and she falls into the coolant. I tell the captain to hang on, as I shot a web line and swung us to safety, just as the wire comes out of the socket. All around us, the Borg are exploding, and the Borg consoles are exploding as the Queen is dying on the floor. On the Phoenix, I say that we should be good. Bring us out of warp. We drop the sublight and we come about. The Earth comes into view, but it's just a little ball of blue. It had worked. The warp flight worked. Dr. Cochrane looks at the Earth and asks if that was it. Joy said it was. It's so small. I smile and say it's about to get a whole lot bigger. Captain Picard pushed a couple buttons on her console and released all of the coolant so we could head to the main floor. As the floor comes into view, it was pretty gruesome, with all the dead Borg just lying on the floor. We find the Borg Queen, and she is barely hanging on. Captain Picard grabs her head and holds it in his hand. Then he grabs her spine and breaks it in two, killing her. Take a breather, Dibs. It's over. I hear a faint, "Captain." I turn and see Data leaning against the table, and I see that the human skin he had is gone. And for the first time, I see his real face. We head over to him, and Captain Picard asks if he is alright. Data smiled and said, "I believe I look worse than I..." And he gave a slight chuckle and said, "Feel." He looked at the Queen and said that there was a part of him that felt sad for her being gone. I looked at her and said, "She was unique. She brought me closer to humanity than I ever thought possible. For a brief moment, I did want to be with her and join her." I asked him how long of a moment. He paused for a second and said, 0.68 seconds, sir. I looked at him funny, then he said, "For an android, that was an eternity." I laughed, and then Jean-Luc helped him to his feet, and we left main engineering.